I teamed up with my man, Zach Patroff from Prep Draft Pro to highlight the 2026 NFL draft class. We go through 32 of our favorite players that you need to know about heading into the 2025 college football season. It's a mock draft, so we want to hear from you. Let us know players that we hit on, too high, too low. Who did we leave off the list? How about those team fits? Let's get into it. All right, Zach, here we go. 2026 NFL mock draft. And before we do anything, we've got to talk a little philosophy here. Why are we doing a mock draft, right? At this point, we're not trying to perfectly nail this. All right, if your team's drafting to the top, I don't want to hear it. Blame Vegas odds. Don't blame us. We're just trying to do work through a way to talk about the top guys in next year's class. Going into this season, who do you need to know about? Who are we excited about? And, who are we projecting to be those top guys? Is that generally your approach as well?
I love mock drafts, and I know it gets a lot of hate, but for the most part, when I'm looking at a mock draft, it's, who are the guys that are we thinking about early on, especially in the summer, could go with those top 32 picks, get some names on the list, and get some film to watch on them. So that's, especially in the summer, it's a great exercise to do. Once you get to the off season, it's obviously fun to see who, might be the first round picks or someone that could go high on day two. But it's a fun exercise. And yeah, blame Vegas for the draft order.
Absolutely. And if you're not familiar about the way that me and Zach work together, I'm always more fantasy focused. Zach has a much wider view of the NFL draft. So he's going to help us make sure we don't just take skill position players throughout this process here. And again, like I mentioned in the intro, the link to all of Zach's work will be in the episode description for Prep Draft Zone, Prep Draft Pro. Zach, I'm gonna let you make the first pick here. No pressure, but we've got the New York Giants on the clock. A lot of options. Obviously it's looking like a decent quarterback draft. That always leans quarterback off the top. Is that where you are?
Oh, dude, it's really interesting because I've watched quite a few quarterbacks. Gary Newsmeyer, Kate Klubnik, like all those guys. It's going to be an interesting draft for quarterbacks in my mind because what are you looking at? Are you looking at tools? Are you looking at someone that's maybe a little bit more pro ready? It's gonna be interesting. Personally, for me, and I hate to say it, but like I do think if the Giants are picking at the top of the draft, who did they start at quarterback this year? Like, did they go with Jackson Dart and they're just like, all right, we need to give him another year to kind of, get his feet wet and get another year going.
If they're this low, you have to think they would have at least given them, 4 to 6 games, right?
Definitely.
You have to have a sample size.
What did you like from him? I mean, do you look at their offensive line too? I wouldn't be opposed to them like trading out, trying to get like, the Alabama tackle or something like that, Caden Proctor. So that might be where I go if I am the Giants because I want to give Jackson Dart another year.
He's a believer.
For me personally, I think Jackson Dart is going to be okay. It might take him a couple years, but you definitely got to shore up that offensive line. And I know you could probably trade back and maybe get Caden Proctor. But where we sit, I think we're gonna. That's where I'd go is Caden Proctor,
offensive tackle with the first pick.
First overall. I don't, but we're not making trades. We're not making trades. So I think that's just how we're gonna have to play this one out here.
Is Proctor for you clearly the OT one? Is Maui Goa in that conversation? Is there somebody else you like?
It's gonna be however this year kind of plays out. I do think Maui, how do you say his last name again?
Maui, I believe Francis Maui.
That sounds right. I think he's definitely going to. They're my 1-2. They're back to back right now in my rankings. I do think Spencer Fano from Utah is another name we got to watch out for who could jump as OT1 or OT2. So definitely two names that I'm not going to say Proctor's locked in at OT1 because those three are pretty much neck and neck for me right now.
All right. I like it. Well, that brings up the Browns, which means I do think we have to get a quarterback off the board here. I could play the same game because I like Dylan Gabriel, but I don't like him quite as much. So, Zach, I think I know who you would take in this situation because you did post who is my 2026 quarterback one, and you went through the candidates, and I thought you had some good ones. I'm excited to talk about, Cade Klubnik. I'm excited to talk about Lenoris Sellers. And I'm going to, and you can take him if you want, but I don't think Arch is 2026. So I don't know if you want to leave him all the way out. But I think if we're doing a 2026 mock, personally, I'll leave him out. So I'm going to go with a guy who you made a pretty good argument for, and I'm picking with my heart here. I'm going to go with Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU. I think if the draft happened today, he's not QB1, right? But he's got the arm talent. He's got the arm strength. He's got a little bit of that gunslinger mentality that I fall in love with. And really, we just need to see that year two progression, I think, in terms of timing, in terms of intermediate anticipation. Is that kind of where you're at with Nuss?
Yeah, I think for me, I see the tools and I like the deep ball. I like the overall ability to change his arm angle, get on the move a little bit too. I think he's more mobile than he's given credit for as well. I don't think he's going to stand in the pocket and just chuck the ball. That's not. He's definitely got a lot of potential to him, and I see the tools. I need to see him this year, and I think we will. Just because you look at his wide receivers, I like Barian Brown, the Kentucky transfer, speedy guy. Aaron Anderson's fun to watch. Nick Anderson, if Nick Anderson was healthy, like I think he would have been one of the guys that we're talking about a little bit more this summer. He's got some stuff to clean up. I do want to say, like with Nick Anderson, because being a wide receiver coach here, I definitely want to break down his film a lot more because I think he needs to work on his route running. But overall, you have three very solid receivers. And also Bauer Sharp, the tight end, who transferred from Oklahoma, I think is a very good weapon too. So I think Nuss is going to be a guy that takes off this year just because he has a lot of solid weapons.
All right. I love it. Well, that puts Tennessee on the clock. They went quarterback last year with Cam Ward. You could pretty much make an argument for need across the board. What are you thinking here for the Titans?
Oh man, it's tough because I think they need a defensive lineman. I think they need a wide receiver, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not like extremely high on the wide receivers overall this year. So there's not going to be a wide receiver that goes top 5 or top 10 right now. Yeah, this high, there's not going to be a wide receiver more than likely. I do like those two Clemson guys, TJ Parker, Peter Woods. If I had to pick one, just because I want someone that's an interior guy for the Titans. I think we could take a guy like Peter Woods.
All right. Yeah, that Clemson front seven is looking like it's going to be pretty serious this upcoming year.
Dude, overall, like I think the Tigers are going to be a very good team this year. Like you look at their depth chart, and it's seasoned veterans with some really good young guys behind them on offense and defense. I think overall, Clemson is going to be a team to really watch this year.
Well, the Jets are going to be in a full state of disarray if they're actually picking at 4 next year. And again, you look at playmaker on offense. I think that's what they need, but I don't think that you can go wide receiver this high, this early. Looking at potentially the edge position as an area of need here for them. I know they've invested a decent amount along that front seven, but I'm wondering if that edge is where maybe we want to address. Is there another blaring need for the Jets or that you would be looking at?
For the Jets, I think edge is a good call. I think safety is another good call for them too.
Yeah.
Just looking at their
too high for downs
right now. I was going to say it might be, but I don't know. Like the safety position seems to get pushed down every single year. It's kind of like the running back position on defense. Safeties just seem to get pushed down a little bit. Same with the linebackers, but Downs is such a good overall, just an overall player. Great ball skills, can it tackles well. Just does everything really well. Yeah, I think he can get into the box. I think he's someone that just, again, overall, you're looking at a guy that has just a well-rounded game to him. So I would not be opposed to Downs.
Let's do it. You talked me into it. Caleb Downs, 4th overall here. I mean, he's just a really talented player, right?
Yeah. If you haven't watched this film yet, I don't care who you are, just go put that film on because he's a blast to watch.
I like that. All right,
that brings people get so nervous with safeties though, just because like you look at like Lewis Seen and who's the other guy this year that got pushed down? Like all is like a lot of these guys that were talked about highly so early,
Yep.
they ended up kind of just falling off or, didn't really, produce at the NFL level. So I feel like people get nervous with safeties, and I do too, but like, I don't know. I love Downs. I think he's going to be a great player this year.
I think if people don't see like any corner versatility there, they just get panicked.
Yeah.
All right. So you got the Saints at 5 here. What are we thinking?
Saints at 5. Saints at 5, and I'm looking at edge just because you took Downs. I would probably look at going with TJ Parker. He's another guy who does a lot of things extremely well. Can speed rush, can play with power, gets to the backfield, plays the run really well, plays the pass. If I'm the Saints, if I'm looking at this right, Cam Jordan is set to be a free agent. I don't know if there's any talks about him coming back too, just because of his age as well. You're
Right.
going to need to eventually replace him, so a guy like TJ Parker could do that.
All right. I like that. All right. That brings us up to the Panthers here with this next selection. They've started to invest a decent amount into the offense here. The line is coming together. I do think, though, that if you're the Panthers, you're sitting there. Let's say Bryce Young takes a nice step forward. I mean, with Maui Goa on the board at pick 6, right? You have to reinforce him, give a real franchise left tackle.
Yeah, just looking at what's available, I think tackle this is a perfect spot for the Panthers to take a tackle and shore that up. Because you looked at what Bryce Young did last year at the end of the year.
It was positive.
Started to take some steps. So I think this year you start to see another step, hopefully, because I don't know about you, but like I like Bryce when he was coming out. I thought
We loved him.
Obviously the size is going to be a concern. It's always a concern. I'm always concerned. Like even a guy like Kyler Murray, like I was concerned about him coming out as well. But
Yeah.
Overall, like he's definitely taken some steps.
Absolutely. All right, that gets us to the Raiders at 7 here. Really interesting point in their build. They went running back in the first round. Of course, an exciting playmaker to add there. But what's Pete Carroll going to add to the lineup here?
Dude, Pete Carroll, he's always such a wild card. Like you could go offensive tackle here. Their quarterback is Geno Smith. I like Geno Smith, but how long are you gonna sit there and wait for like another quarterback? Like, do you go Cade Klubnik here and maybe he sits for a year? Again, like I'm a little torn on this quarterback class because I've watched quite a few of them now. How high and how many quarterbacks are going to go? Is it going to be like a Kenny Pickett type of year where it's one and then who knows when the next one's going to go type of thing? Like, are they gonna fall, or is it going to be one where
I think they're going to go.
All of these, there's a
Yeah.
lot of solid names with a lot of potential, a lot of tools that just had to take that next step this year. Drew Aller, of course,
Yep.
Sam Levitt, young kid, who I think Sam Levitt's a very solid player. Lenora Sellers. There's so many names here that could make that jump. Like even you're scrolling down here, and I love Fernando Mendoza. I like him a lot.
I just watched Mendoza this morning. A lot of arm talent.
He's really good. Yes, there's a ton of arm talent. Another name, if you want another dark horse, Sawyer Robinson from Baylor. Go put his film on. I liked him quite a bit.
Give me somebody else to watch. All right.
I'm giving you some names, but I'm going to go Cade Klubnik with this pick.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Because let's leave Arch off because I agree with you. I think he's a 27 guy.
All right, that makes my job difficult here because I do think the Colts are going to want to go quarterback, and I wanted Cade because I think you do the Anthony Richardson experience, and I'm not drawing a 1-to-1
so much,
right, with Lenora Sellers, but it's hard when you get burned by that archetype, right, and then potentially. You go in and try to replace him with the same thing, but he's clearly the best quarterback for me on the board. Would you give an argument for Alar over Sellers at this point?
I can't. I really can't because I haven't come out with my rankings yet, but my quarterback rankings are starting to take shape, and I'll just send it right now. I won't even tease it. Robinson and Mendoza are higher on my quarterback rankings than Aller.
Yeah, I think right now today it's not a wild take because the processing, especially in the big situations, and even the week to week, man. I mean, you really didn't see the mental side of it coming through with Alar. So, I'm sure the Indy fans will be a little not thrilled with me, but I'm going to take Lenora Sellers. I'm going to buy into the upside. I just posted an article in the Rookie Big Board newsletter, which link also will be in the episode description. For fantasy purposes, Sellers is my QB1. Klubnik is right up there. It's very close, but you can't beat the upside of just ridiculous athleticism. I mean, I think in terms of a runner, Lenora Sellers makes Anthony Richardson look relatively unathletic. It's a different level.
Dude, for you to say that it might sound preposterous just because if you watch Anthony Richardson in college, like it was so much fun to watch him, especially when he was running the football. So for you to say that is a huge tell, and because I'm one game into Sellers,
yeah,
it's lightning quick. Like he's a blast to watch because he's so dangerous with his feet. It's a lot of fun to watch.
It shocked me. I knew he'd be athletic, but I was shocked with how athletic he is. And if it's not on your list, the Clemson tape in particular was what really sold me on Lenora Sellers. So
yeah, I'll turn that one on because I got to watch these Clemson guys too. So I'll watch them against Lenora Sellers, dude.
Yeah,
it's a twofer exactly.
Well, you're not going to see the defensive front bring down too many sacks in that game. I can tell you that. But let's go ahead. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys are up next, drafting in the top 10. So things have gone a little awry there in Dallas. Clear running back need. Too early to start thinking about like a Jeremiah Love.
This is like as we were talking about the last pick, I'm sitting here looking at the two. Go back to the full board really quick. I'm looking at Jeremiah Love and I'm looking at McCoy because I think McCoy is going to be a high pick this year. I really like this guy. I think he could again just kind of like Caleb Downs just has a really good overall game to him. Like there's not much he does. I don't think there's anything he does bad. Yeah. Like he does a lot of things good and a lot of things great. Like there's so much to his game that I like, and I think they could use a corner like him. But Jeremiah Love's fun. He's a lot of fun.
It's probably a better chance a corner goes in the top 10. I don't think it's a running back class that's going to demand a top 10 pick. Let's put it that way.
I know. I look at who they got on. They drafted Siobhan Revel, who tore his ACL during the year last year.
Yeah, East Carolina
Trevon
guy.
Diggs. Yeah, Trevon Diggs is a good player. Kyrie Elam's a solid player too. Like they have some solid corners. I love what McCoy brings, but it's so hard to pick between him and Love right now.
Let's go with McCoy. Let's go with
McCoy.
Let's get a Vol off the board. That makes my heart happy.
Oh yeah, I know you like that.
I think Cleveland at 10 is where we start to get into the wide receiver conversation, right? You're looking for a playmaker. I like Carnell Tate. For me, he's a bit of a projection, right? Because we don't have a huge sample size. But for me, at the top, it's Carnell Tate and it's Jordan Tyson. I think Tyson has a little bit more proof of concept at this point. He stretches the field very well. He can win before the catch, but he wins after the catch as well. Do you have a preference between Tate and Tyson at this point in the process?
Actually, Tate's on the Ohio State guys are next on my list to watch. Okay. If I were to pick one right now today, I would say Tyson.
Okay.
Another guy I want to throw his name in the hat is Antonio Williams, the Clemson wide receiver.
He's good.
Loved what I saw in film, and I know he's probably not going to go this high.
Yeah,
but he might end up being my wide receiver one before the year starts. There's again a lot of things he does well, but he doesn't have Jordan Tyson's size.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying pick Antonio Williams here. I would still take Tyson over him. But Antonio Williams is definitely someone I would keep an eye on. 5'10", 190, solid speed. I would bet that he runs in the high 4.3s, low 4.4s. I think he's someone that is definitely going to make a name for himself this year. Because I think Clemson's going to take off this year.
Oh yeah, yeah. Williams, he's quick. He's got a nice release. The only thing I wonder about, and I think he's going to come off the board later on. So maybe I'll save it a little bit. But I like that shout out. Let's go Jordan Tyson at this point. Gives a little inside-out versatility for that Cleveland offense that's still finding its footing. So if you're a Browns fan, we have Garrett Nussmeier to Jordan Tyson. That's not too bad for you.
That'd be pretty good. I'd like that.
Not too bad. All right, Seahawks up here at 11. Now, this has to be something completely unconventional and non-predictable, right? Because it's the Seahawks.
Absolutely, but if I'm the Seahawks, I'm probably taking a tackle. I'm
Okay.
probably taking I'm probably taking Fano from Utah.
Okay.
This guy is a hell of a player, and you look at what they have on their roster right now. You know, you got Charles Cross. I know they drafted Gray Zabel, but he's going to be a guard. That's been a conversation all
Yep.
during the
Yeah.
last draft. You know, he's going to be a guard. I know he played a lot of tackle at NDSU, but then you got Abraham Lucas. Like, it's just not a lot of like top tier guys that have been amazing. So I think if you can get a tackle like Bono, it's gonna be best. I mean, protect Sam Darnold. He's your quarterback of the future, right?
Like it or not.
no,
All right.
yeah, or Jalen Milrow, and I know you like Drew Lock, so
Oh boy.
who knows?
They brought him back
Dude,
for a reason. They brought him back for a
dude,
reason, man.
still
Uh,
I still think about like when me and you first started doing this, like wasn't it the Drew Lock draft and you were just pounding the table for Drew Lock like crazy?
the Drew Lock draft. Is that the Daniel Jones draft too? Were they the same year? Oh man.
Oh, okay. I can't.
That was an
You're making me
experience.
dig into
They might have
history. It
been
was,
they might have been back-to-back years. That was an
yeah, it might
experience.
have been back to back. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of let's just move on to the Patriots. I'm going to go back to the wide receiver position. I'm going to take the other guy that I mentioned is in my top tier. You know, it is a bit of a projection at this point, but if you look at Carnell Tate, that gives you size, that gives you athleticism, and I think he's got really good hands. He showed the ability to work through the top of the route tree. I actually want to see a little bit more of the bottom of the route tree this year, but with Igbuka off to the NFL, I think that's a realistic possibility here, and you got to get Drake May a playmaker on the outside, right?
You gotta get dude, Drake May. I think is going to be a solid player in the NFL. We got to get him some weapons.
All right. So this pick with the Rams is from Atlanta. I believe this is the one that Atlanta used to trade back in for James Pierce, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep, correct.
So they're on the clock, and the Rams really could go in a lot of different directions. I mean, you could go quarterback of the future for Matt Stafford. You could reinforce the offensive line. What jumps out for you?
You know, just looking at their roster right now, I think they're going to be a solid team this year. You know, I think corner is going to be the way to go. You know, they got Darius Williams, they got Witherspoon. Not a lot of guys behind them that really stand out.
Yeah.
So I think corner is going to be the way to go. And just I need to look at my corners quick and see if I can decide which one I want out of the top ones here. With McCoy going already, I like Hill out of Michigan too. I think he's going to be a player that jumps out. Even Damani Jackson as well. There's the cornerback class. It could jump out at us, but just looking at who we got up here, scroll up for me, would you? Let's see. We got
Muhammad. I feel like I've been hearing a lot of chat around Muhammad.
Terrell's still there. We gotta take Terrell there. Yeah, I like him a lot too. Yeah, If I'm the Rams, I'm taking a corner. Terrell's there.
All right. I like that move here. That gets us to Pittsburgh. I swear I'm not just trying to get the quarterbacks here, but we're at 14. They're going to need a quarterback next year. But I don't think this falls well for them. You either have to go Alar at this point. I think Levitt could take a step. I think Mendoza could take a step. But I just think it's too early for those guys, right? At this point. Or do you keep the hometown kid in Pittsburgh? You project a step forward for Alar?
Dude, that's an interesting point. If he takes a step forward and Pittsburgh's there at 14 and they like their hometown kid,
they can't pass on him.
It's kind of crazy to say because people might say oh, that's ridiculous. Like there's no reason to take a kid, just because he's from the hometown. But if he takes a step forward, I mean they did it with Pickett,
right.
Like if you take Drew Aller and he's already a Pennsylvania kid, like bring him in.
We're selling tickets, folks.
We're selling tickets, yeah.
Let's go, Alar. I think I want to believe. I want to believe he's going to take this step because it is there. Like the arm strength is there, the mobility's there. We're gonna project forward with Alar.
That works for me.
And on to Miami.
Muhammad, go just click Muhammad because you know what? If they don't take a corner or if they don't grab one before the season starts, their secondary is going to get torched. And Mohammed's a
Right.
great player, and I'm a Longhorn fan. Like that's my team. Like, being Gophers and Longhorns for me. Longhorns will always be number one in my heart. So taking Mohammed, makes me feel good too. And the Dolphins need him.
Well, this might make you feel good because I'm thinking Chicago and I'm thinking linebacker. Is there one that you would make a case for over Anthony Hill?
Absolutely not. Anthony Hill's my guy, man. And taking a linebacker at what pick are we at? 16?
16?
I don't mind that at all.
That ain't bad.
The linebacker class in general isn't too bad this year, but Anthony Hill is going to be my clear number one heading into the year.
Yeah, I like it a lot. All right, 17 Cardinals on the board. This is an interesting one. Do we
This
want
is
to
an interesting one.
open back up the Jeremiah Love conversation here? James
We
Conner successor?
is Connor. What's his contract look like? Is he out after this year,
Let me
or
check. I believe the idea when they drafted Benson was that Connor was going to be done after 2 years of Benson. But let's make sure that he hasn't gotten
I
extended.
think he's extended. I don't see him as a free agent next year. So I think we got to pause the Love train for now.
I see what you did there. All right, all right. They have
um, I
they have an out after 2025 for 2.2 dead cap, but he's technically on contract through 26.
Okay. And this is where you almost want to go receiver a little bit too. Like you
Oh,
really only have Marvin Harrison, and he struggled last year. Hopefully you can pick it up this next year. You're really looking at it like Zay Jones, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, who I like Greg Dortch, by the way. I don't care what anyone says.
okay.
Simi Fehoko, like there's not a lot of like wide receiver might be the way to go here.
Oh, so
And
I know where you're going to want to go then.
I'm going to pound the table for Antonio Williams because you look at the type of receiver Marvin Harrison is and the type of receiver Antonio Williams is, and I think they pair up really well.
I think that's a really nice fit. And I mentioned it earlier, talking about Williams. I think, the only question, like I said, I think he's really quick off the snap. He's got a great release, excellent hands. He's comfortable playing along the boundary, which is really interesting to me. I think he's going to have to be more over the middle in the NFL. So that's my only question is that translation. But I think that's a good fit in the Arizona scheme, right? That's where their opportunity is. And, they're really good about creating that space over the middle of the field for their receiver. So really nice pairing there. But it gives me, you're good. It gives me a lot of pressure now because I'm on the clock with Minnesota. I got Zach's Vikings here. So you're going to have to lead me. I don't want to assume who you would want for your Vikings.
Oh man, just where we're sitting here, man, it's tough because like I said, I do like the corner class. I think it's solid. I do think we need to address that just because I mean our corners are not the greatest. I hope when Mekhi Blackman comes back, he's healthy and you got a guy like AJ Harris who I'm fairly high on. I just think it might be too early for him because what are we picking at 18? Oh,
Yeah,
Vegas has us at 18. We're gonna be picking lower. Why would Vegas do us like that?
Come on,
And
baby.
you also want to I also want to look at the edge rushers too. Like I really like Kedrick Falk. I think he's a very solid player, but because I think Falk's going to go right around this range. But you got Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave you picked up this year. Grenard and Van Ginkel were great last year. I'm not 100% on their current contract situation. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm so tempted to take Jeremiah Love just because we got Aaron Jones. I know we got Jordan Mason and Ty Chandler. I think it's Aaron Jones. We don't know how much longer he's going to have.
Yeah.
Jordan Mason, was he kind of like a one-hit wonder? Isn't he suspended too for the first few games?
I'm here for Jeremiah Love. I'm here for it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's send
All
it.
right.
I don't. That'd make Vikings fans excited.
Ooh.
He's a heck of a playmaker.
I like that one. I like that one a lot. All right. That brings us up to Denver. And, I was looking ahead for Jeremiah Love too. And it was like Denver, Houston, Green Bay, Tampa. There really weren't running back landing spots. So I'm glad we got him off in the top 20. That feels like the right spot for him. Denver up here. We got a good young offense building around Bo Nix coming out. Where do you think Sean Payton is gonna go for in this class?
Denver is in such an interesting spot because they have a young quarterback in Bo Nix. They got, some solid weapons, but looking at who they have overall, I mean, wide receiver might be a spot that they want to look at here too. But again, I don't know how many receivers are going to come off the board this early. Like Cortland Sutton's solid. Devon Bell, or Belair, however you say his last name, is okay. Marvin Mims is okay. Troy Franklin, I know there's that connection with Bo Nix
That,
as well. Pat
that,
Pat
that
Bryant, I think
day
is good
two
too.
draft capital on Pat Bryant.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't hate it. I think it's early, and I'm with everyone else on that. But I didn't hate Pat Bryant coming out. But I just think you're looking at a guy like Denzel Boston, who's a very solid playmaker. I think if we're going to build around Bo Nix, let's get him some weapons, and I think this is a good spot for Denzel Boston.
All right. That's an interesting one. I came away a little disappointed with Boston's tape, but I think maybe that was usage versus skill set. So it'll be interesting to see if Jed Fish deploys him in a, he just doesn't play deep downfield as much of a guy with his frame should. So let's see how that plays out this year with Boston. He's certainly an interesting pick and, first round potential.
Yeah. And what it looks like, they're going to be starting a sophomore this year, maybe Kai Horton, the senior, comes out too. So it'll be interesting to see how he does this year. I think he's going to be someone that takes off, but he's going to be one to watch for sure.
Yeah, that's the first full year starter production. Definitely should not be ignored. But that brings us up to Houston here, and other than everywhere, offensive line, right?
Right. Yeah. Offensive line's going to be the way to go for them.
So do you feel like, Slaughter at the center position is worth discussing? Are we staying with the tackles? Any interior guys that are in this early conversation?
I think Caden Green's a solid player. Center feels early. Who do they have at center right now?
They have Jake Andrews, I believe, is the projected starter.
Jake Andrews. They got Jarrett Patterson as well. They drafted Eli Cox, or I don't know. He might have went undrafted. Yeah, Eli Cox.
I feel like the tackle position is more urgent.
Just looking at their roster, tackle. I mean, they got Cam Robinson. He had a solid year for us last year. They got Blake Fisher. They picked up Trent Brown. Ursi from Minnesota as well. They drafted him last year. Like, they have some players at tackle. It's just if they're going to need to build around CJ Stroud and get some protection. So I'm here for the offensive tackles.
All right. Who's at the top? It feels like we got a little bit of a drop off here. Anybody that you like, even if it's like your guy, maybe they're not even a first round guy, just somebody that you want to hype up.
Oh man, looking at my tackles. Oh man, it's tough to say. It's going to be a drop off.
That good.
It's going to be a drop. We might have to push tackle down the road a little bit.
All right, we don't want to force it here.
I wouldn't force. Yeah, I don't think I'd force it. If I was going to force it, it'd probably be with Wagner. But oof, they're in a tough spot, man. If they can't get an offensive lineman at 20, or because Wagner might be the play. Caleb Tiemann from Northwestern, I have higher than all these guys. So if we want to force it, I'd probably go there. But it's even Blake Miller's early here. Dude, this is funny. We get to this spot and it's like,
this is where
it's going to be.
And quite frankly, on most NFL evaluator boards, right, pick 20 and 50 at this point. It's totally up in the air. So let's take the Northwestern guy here. Let's take Tiernan. Let's give him a shout out. And
he would be the guy I pick. He's right now at 43 for me.
Okay.
So it's not, but I don't have another tackle higher.
We'll go with it, and the Houston fans will certainly let us know how they feel in the comments.
Hey, he's a solid player. Like, once you get some film on him after for this year, I think he's a guy that's going to be a riser this year.
All right, Green Bay is up here. Is this the Ruben Bain spot, you think? I feel like we're really letting him slide.
We are letting him slide, and I don't like that because I think he is going to be someone that goes fairly early. Bain's going to be the pick for the Packers here. It has to be. They're going to end up needing an edge rusher pretty quick too. So that's definitely got to be the pick there. I don't see him slipping at 21, but it is the draft, so who knows?
We let him fall.
That's fine.
Tampa Bay. This is an interesting one. Secondary safety. I have a hard time identifying, really where the main gap is for the Buccaneers.
I think for the Bucks, it's probably going to be like either a linebacker or an edge. I think they go defense here. And do we still have? Yeah, we still have Falk available. I think
Yep.
this is where Falk probably ends up going if we want to make this pick here. Yeah, because he's going to be another guy that goes around this 20 range. Again, a very good player, can play inside, can play outside, depending on where you need him. So I like this pick for Tampa.
Nice. I like it as well. All right. Chargers are up here. One position that we just haven't talked about, I think the Chargers could use help at, is tight end. But, my impression here is there's not really a true first round tight end at this point. Stowers obviously intrigues me. I think Endries could get there. And then you have the athleticism with Kenyon Sadiq. Anybody jumping out to you from the tight end position that could be in play at 23?
Oh, this tight end class is going to be interesting because I have some names I like. Endries is he's with Texas now, by the way, too. He's a
Yeah,
Longhorn.
he's not Cal. Transfer.
He's a very, very good player. Right now, he's my tight end one over Stowers.
And he's going to be featured. That Gunnar Helm role was a good one.
Yes.
First
And
year
there's a couple
full-time
other
starting
ones.
quarterbacks. Love their tight ends there with Arch. So
Yeah. The USC tight end's going to be interesting. There's not a lot of production with him, but he's a very good blocker. He's going to be way down there probably.
he
Lake
jumped out
McCree.
when I was watching
Mhm.
the Lemon tape and the Jacoby Lane tape. I kept seeing the tight end. I was like, "What's going on with this guy?"
Yeah. Yeah. The
47
kid
or
can
something like
block.
that. He's got a crazy number.
Yeah, the kid can block, and he's athletic, but he's not featured a whole lot in that offense. Like
Yeah.
I think he's going to be someone that you're drafting based off tools. But if we are going tight end, I'm with you. I don't think a tight end goes in the first round. It's an interesting class, but I think if we're going to take a tight end, Endries would be the pick.
Let's
The
force it.
reason yeah, we could force it. The reason why I like him so much though is kind of like what I said with Lake McCree. Can block, can catch, super athletic, runs a variety of routes. Like he's going to be someone that rises this year once we see him in Texas.
Yeah. And there's going to be a tight end in the conversation somewhere in this range. So let's keep ourselves honest here to positional value and let's get one off the board. 24, Vegas has the Commanders getting back into the playoffs. So that's fun.
I could see it.
And that Jaden Daniels offense.
Hey,
you
look good, man.
This is, who I was kind of eyeing up if we let Jeremiah Love fall. I think that they're going to need to address the running back position. Brian Robinson's only getting used so far. I know folks like Nicholas Singleton. I'm not there on him quite yet. I don't know if
dude,
you
I'm
want to
with
make an
you.
argument for your Minnesota boy and Darius Taylor, but
dude, I'm so glad you said that because like I was talking with a buddy of ours, and I was letting him know, I'm like, dude, I just watched the Penn State offense and Kaytron Allen's better.
I thank you. I've been saying
Kaytron
that.
Allen's better, dude.
I think Kaytron Allen is definitely a better running back. Nick Singleton can be. He's got all the tools to be a better running back, but the vision is not there. He gets caught upright too often.
Upright all the time. Oh, dude, that was his biggest thing, was running upright. Like it drove me nuts watching that.
No leverage. For a guy of his size, he's never got any leverage. It drives me insane.
A guy his size, his speed, and he's running straight up and down and falling backwards. Like it just drives me absolutely crazy. Kaytron Allen, the vision, the burst, like he's got a lot of tools. I like Kaytron Allen even more than my Minnesota guy, by the way.
Should we just take Kaytron? No, I'm just kidding. Not at 24. All right. So, yeah, probably not the running back position. I think we might only end up with one running back here.
If I'm thinking of, I think we're going to end up with one running back as well, honestly. But if we're just looking at Washington, like they're going to end up drafting a running back in the second or third round. That's what I'd do if I were them. I don't know if I have a receiver ranked high enough to go here. Because is Debo on? He's on his last year, right? Terry's on his last year as well. McLaren.
Did they extend Debo when they traded for him?
They may have.
Am I remembering that right?
They may have, yeah. So
I mean, I think wide receivers in play either way.
It's in play. I also think corner might be in play as well.
They did not extend him. Nope, he's a free agent.
Okay, they didn't. Okay, and McLaren's on his last year as well too, I think, right?
Let me check that. Well, I'll have our producer look that up.
Yeah, have her. Yeah, can you get the producer on that?
It's me. I'm the producer. McLaren, no, he's good through. Oh yeah, this is last year. Yep.
We might need to force a receiver here.
I'll tell you. I mean, there's definitely guys I still like. I really like Eric Singleton. I think Makai Lemon is the best player on the board still. Athletic, good hands, versatile receiver, good over the middle of the field.
I'm not gonna argue the Lemon pick. I think that's a very solid pick. Another guy I want me and you to discuss right now is Zachariah Branch.
Oh boy. I will tell you, so I just watched the Branch film, I think 2 days ago, and I came away more impressed than I thought I was going to be. It was heavily he definitely relied on what I call manufactured production, right? So like at the line of scrimmage, in the flat, but he didn't do it as much as I thought he would. I don't, is it going to get any better at Georgia? The transfer spot was really frustrating for me. I couldn't take Branch over Lemon, I don't think, at this stage in the draft.
I couldn't either, but dude, with Branch, I came same thing with that you said. I came away impressed, but I also came away so much more frustrated than I thought I was going to.
Yes.
Like he does everything so well, like speed, acceleration, burst, twitchy, super athlete. Like he's gonna run a 4.3, low
And good
4.3.
ball skills too, like good ball skills.
That's where I came away frustrated, dude. Every time I looked at like there was a play, and I'm like, that is a hell of a play. He would drop the ball, like just drop the ball, and I was like, I can't remember what game it was.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
I
add
can't
that to
remember what it was,
the film review.
but it drove me nuts because I'm like, dude, if you could just be more consistent where you're with your hands, like you would be wide receiver one. But
Which
I'm
might
not
be why his
drafting.
targets dropped off.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I got so many their body sizes polar opposites, but he gave me so much N'Keal Harry vibes, like where it's just those concentration drops, the body catches, and fumbling around. That's what drove me nuts. So it's like, dude, if you could just sit in front of a jugs machine, catch 500 passes off that damn thing all off season, he's going to be a good player. But yeah, no, I can't make a case for him over Lemon or anyone else here.
There's the wide receiver coach coming out. All right, I'm gonna go. We'll go ahead. We'll get Makai Lemon off the board here, and on to the Bengals.
I mean, you got to go defense, right? Like, there's no other option here.
Who might not even have their defensive player they drafted this year.
Oh man, like what a! I think we got to go defense, and it's either going to be a linebacker or a defensive lineman. I think LT Overton's in play here. Just looking at my rankings here. There's a lot of solid edge rushers that I don't think have come off the board. I think Gabe Jacques from Illinois is a good name to know. Matayo Uyunglele is another name to know as well. I think, and I don't want to force picks either, but I think we got to go defensive line. Let's go LT Overton.
Okay.
Because I think he's a versatile type of player. You know, he's kind of that tweener that can play inside and outside. He's 6'3", round 280, mid 280s. So I don't think you're going to have him on the defensive line. And if I know the Bengals, they're running a 4-3, and I think he fits that type of scheme pretty well.
I like it. All right, that brings us back to the Rams. They went corner in Terrell with their first pick. I think wide receiver could be in play with them, especially. I'm going to make the pitch for Eric Singleton. You put him in the slot. Let's say you get one more year out of Adams. You got Puka long term. That feels like a really and I'd say frame wise Singleton in the slot, but he is not a short field specialist. Like he could work the seam. He plays well downfield, and you've got some creative versatility there with Sean McVay.
Yeah, I think Singleton's going to be a fun player to watch this year at Auburn. Because who's Auburn's quarterback? Is that
it's Jackson Arnold now?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a fun duo to watch this year. Is him and Eric Singleton, and you kind of hit the nail on the head too. I think him being that kind of slot gadget type of player too with Sean McVay, I think could be lethal.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. Let's get my guy. He was one of the guys I walked away from film review, really excited over expectation about. All right, yeah. We're closing in here. We got 6 more picks, and the Lions are on the clock at 27.
The Lions, man, do they might need an edge player. They might need,
Yeah, the Davenport
one of those.
replacement.
Yeah, and I think let me see. Is Uyunglele still on the board?
Yep, we got him.
I think that's a guy where if you put him opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, hopefully he comes back and plays well. I think Uyunglele, he's sitting at 52 in these rankings. I think he's 33 for me, and I think he's going to be a player that climbs this year if he's ranked that low right now.
I like him. Let's get him off the board here at 27. On to the 49ers at 28. I just don't believe the Niners are going to be drafting this high, but or this low, I should say.
I agree.
That's an interesting one.
That's Defense? An interesting one. For the 49ers, let's take a look. Who do we got? We got
best available.
Everyone anytime. Okay, like I'm not going to go tackle, but the Niners need to like let me look at their team real quick because I know Trent Williams, like obviously stud, amazing.
You got McKivitz there.
Like they're going to have to address the tackle position eventually, and everyone just eats me alive because they're like they have Trent Williams, and I'm like I'm aware, but he's
not
like
forever.
50. But we can't force a tackle here, of course.
Interior, I mean, do you think like replace Jake Brendel on the inside with a Jake Slaughter type? Is that just
that might not be a bad idea.
I just think it's an opportunity. Like I love when teams just lean into what they're good at, right? Instead of trying to patch a hole, you just reinvest in what you're really good at.
And I was surprised Slaughter came back this year. I thought he was easily a day 2 guy, late day 2, but like I liked him. So if he's going to the first round, I can see, I guess, why he came back. But I definitely like this pick here for the Niners.
All right, let's take Slaughter off the board here, our first center, and the Chiefs are up. I don't ever like drafting anybody good for the Chiefs, but I suppose we should do our due diligence to the Kansas City fans who have watched through all the way to minute 46 here.
Yeah, this is either going to be Dylan. I can never say it, dude. I need to get better with last names, but this is either going to be either him out of Oregon or it's going to be AJ Harris. And if we're going off of who I like more, AJ Harris would be my pick here. Get them a corner.
That's of course what we're doing there. Let's defense. I'm not going to try to convince you out of any defensive pick. Right?
I could have went running back, but nah. Let's go defense.
All right, Philadelphia. They're up here. Pretty locked in. Maybe some reinforcement could be used along the offensive line. A big wide receiver on the outside, though. I think that could be an interesting. I've got a little bit of a sleeper guy, but I don't know if you can call him a sleeper, but somebody a little bit deeper I like. Do you have an argument for any wide receivers or any other guys that haven't come off the board yet?
No, I'm gonna let you run with this. I want to hear who you got too.
He's not in the system.
Who is it?
Jacoby Lane.
Dude, Jacoby Lane's a really good one. I would actually be on your side if you wanted to go with Lane. I would definitely take.
He's not in the system. I can't draft him.
Well, we'll plug in Malachi Fields. We'll say it's Jacoby Lane.
Malachi Fields is Jacoby Lane. I would say, and I could almost understand why he's not in the system because, certainly today he's not a first round draft pick, right? But he's a big bodied receiver, which I think would give, Philadelphia in particular a good complementary piece. I think he plays well above the rim. He's good in contested catch situations. I like his ball skills, his mental concentration. My big thing with him, dude, he just hasn't figured out how to use his body yet. He's a little clunky. The body control's not there. The route running could be a little bit sharper, but 12 touchdowns as a sophomore in the USC offense. I think they're going to feed him the ball this year.
USC is going to be super interesting because I think the quarterback Jada Maeva is going to be solid. I think Mekhi Lemon's going to be very, very good. Jacoby Lane, I think, is going to be tremendous. Dude, a name to watch is Prince Stockton, the Boise State receiver. He's a day 3 guy for me right now.
Writing that down.
He's 6'4", 211, runs a mid 4.4. I didn't like him in the Boise system, but I think with him and all these weapons they got, I think Prince Stockton is going to be a solid player. And also, who's the other receiver that he went to Florida State? He didn't get a lot of reps.
Deuce Robinson.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's another name to watch at Florida State this year.
He had some
Again,
good
not a first-round guy.
athleticism to his game.
Yes, for a guy who's like, I'm going to pull up his numbers right now. He's 6'5", 220, and he's probably another guy who runs a mid 4.4. Like
he started as a tight end, converted to wide receiver. Yeah, he was recruited as a tight end.
Yeah, I think he's going to be another player to watch. But I'm getting on a tangent over here. My bad.
He doesn't want the draft to end. Baltimore at 31 here.
Who do you want?
Who do I want? Linebacker? Do we go Lawson? I don't see a clear fit offensively here. Unless
I like a defensive pick here.
Unless you've got somebody you love from the interior side of the offensive line, I could be convinced.
I mean, Reed Adams is a name. Caden Green's another good name. I wouldn't be opposed to taking probably Caden Green, but the defensive side of the ball is there's some talent that's left.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let's see, pull it up here. We got York's a very solid player. Tyreek Saps, Denny Sutton. How do you feel about taking an edge rusher here? There's not really a need for them. You probably need more of an interior guy.
Yeah. Well, can Sutton stand up?
Yep, Sutton can stand up. Yep.
I think then, you're looking at kind of Kyle Van Noy isn't exactly the youngest guy on the block.
So I'll let you pick here. If you want either Reed Adams or Denny Sutton, either one of those two are going to be our picks that I like.
Let's go. Let's do the Ravens thing. The Ravens thing would be to add to the edge and get an athletic pass rusher, anybody who can get pressure into the backfield, create some havoc. Then that leaves us with the Bills. Last pick.
Bills. I feel like they always need a wide receiver.
They always. Well, Keon Coleman's going to come through this year, so
I hope so. It's either wide receiver here or it's Deion Lawson.
Is there a wide receiver that you still like?
Greathouse is a solid player.
Yeah, Greathouse. Oh yeah. Based on the wide receivers that we've taken, it would be a shame to lead off Greathouse. He's actually my wide receiver too. I totally missed that.
Yeah, snag him for the Bills. Keon Coleman and Greathouse, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Greathouse in there with Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakur, and I believe in Josh Palmer, so we'll take that as well.
You have to believe in Josh Palmer, though.
That's the full mock right there. I don't know, man. I don't like to use the word perfect a lot, but pretty darn good for not having done a mock together in a couple of years.
Recording July 8th, 2025, prepping for the April 2026 draft. I would call this as perfect as you can flip and get, man. Look at that.
That's beautiful. That's art, man. Frame it. Print it out. Put it on the wall. Put it on the fridge.
If anything's going to happen, this is exactly how it's going to go. Caden Proctor, an offensive tackle, is going to go number one because they saw something in the last 4 weeks of Jackson Dart. That's how it's going to go. 100%.
There's no notes here. But if you want to give us notes, if you are watching the video here, you are more than welcome to give us notes. Drop us comments. I'm sure it will be nothing but positive, complimentary comments. Fill us up with those. We absolutely love it. But in all seriousness, we love the discourse. We love the back and forth. This was a really good exercise, Zach. I appreciate you guiding me through the non-skill position players. And like you said, you absolutely nailed it. So well done to you. Well done to everybody who has watched all the way through the episode. And I think we might be back here with some NFL draft content pretty soon.